Hi, this is Joe Rabil with Rabil Stock Research. So what I'm going to do today, Happy New Year to everybody. During the lesson, I want to talk about specific periods going back in the S&P because I want to show an example of a ADX setup that can take place and that shows a sign that the market is getting a little exhausted. At least the momentum is showing signs of exhaustion. And when we go back through these different periods, it gives us a different feel for the ways that it can set up. Because right now we're in a similar situation. I'll go through the details on that. Also want to look through some of the what I think are the more attractive looking cryptos. I'm going to go through the other indexes as well, and then we'll go through the symbol requests that came through. All right, let's go ahead and get going. Okay, I've got a weekly chart of the S&P up, and I'm showing the weekly moving averages. I got the 18 and the 40, both simple moving averages. I do have MACD up as well in this scale, but this is the one we really want to focus in on is the ADX, all right? And we do have the volume at the bottom, and that can be helpful in certain instances, especially when the indicator looks like it's clicking into gear. So what I'm looking at is a trend to the upside, clear trend. Notice how the 18 and the 40 are both rising at about the same rate. And you can also see how MACD really isn't all that helpful, right? We get divergence right from the get-go, not pretty early in the trend in 2013. And it just shows that divergence is broken in the MACD because we go straight to a new high and then we start to see more of these taking place. Now we do get reverse divergence a few times, but if you're looking for standard divergence, it just never worked. All right. Now, when we see that the first time, we start to look at any future signals with a question mark and recognize that we're above the zero line and the overall trend is positive. It's different when we do this with ADX though. ADX will confirm to the upside. You can see we confirm by any move above this horizontal line, above 25, is confirming the move. So we're confirming these moves until we get to this point here. Right about April of 2014, we don't show confirmation, but we also never break down. You notice how we came down to the 18 week and then turned right back up. And when we went to a new high here, we got confirmation again. All right. This is very important because this is what could be taking place right now. We could be setting up another move to the upside that eventually does confirm. However, if you notice, as we keep pushing forward, we got a period here where it was crystal clear in 2015, first half of 2015, that there was no confirmation. You see how Green DI made a move up to and then came right back down, and the ADX never got above 25 through this whole period. All right. So we had this whole area here where we should have been concerned about what the market was doing. All right. Yeah, we did have MACD confirmation again with the divergence, but this is the one where you want to be on the lookout for after it's been confirming for a period of time. It starts to show no sign of confirmation. Then we look for a real sign of a break of the 18. Now, this was the true violence where we took out support, and you really didn't have to wait till the end of the week, but you could see that this was clearly a violent move, breakdown, and something we want to be on the lookout for. And then we get a ABC, pretty decent decline. Now, it doesn't turn into a bear market, but that's a pretty serious decline we want to be on the lookout for and ready for. All right, let's look at the next example of this. Now, this one's a little bit different. Again, look at this move in 2017, or it was 2016, 2017, up until the peak of early 2018, we had strong confirmation. All right, so this would have given you no help in this little pullback here. But then notice what happened when we went to another new high. We make another new high here. Look at how there is no ADX confirmation. ADX could not get above 25, even though Green DI tried to push and make a little push here. It couldn't get the ADX above 25 here. So we knew that this was another warning sign. And then again, look at the violent break of the 18 to confirm the signal. That is really important. You can't just assume when you're going up that it's going to fail. All right. We need confirmation in price. And then we get the deep pullback into the late part of 2018. All right, let's look at another example. Now, this one's really important because this led to the bear market. And we talked about this. This is something that I go over every Friday morning. I go through a lot of detail on this in my on my YouTube channel because I cover the S&P in detail, again, on the Friday morning video. But look at what's taking place here. You see, again, how the 18 and the 40 look like everything's fine. You see how these are moving up at about the same rate. All right, but we have to keep an eye out for ADX. ADX confirms, ADX confirms, ADX starts to show signs of weakness. ADX clearly fails to confirm here. All right, we're making new highs into the end of the year. And, you know, we see how this is showing an early warning sign that there's a problem developing in the momentum. And then we get the violent break of the 18. And that leads into the bear market decline. All right. So we want to keep an eye out for this. Now, let's go to the present day. Now I'm doing this in the morning so far. I'm gonna once the market opens, we will I'll go through this symbol request. But look at what's taking place here. We've got ADX not confirming after confirming for a pretty strong stretch. You see how the 18 and the 40 are rising? They're not showing any real signs. And this is why I like using ADX in this instance. It's why I don't really like paying attention to the MACD because you can get false signals with the divergences. But with ADX, when we get this type of pattern, we want to be on the lookout now for a violent break of the 18. That's the signal here. If we haven't had that, we also haven't had up until this point here, through here, we really have had momentum confirmation with the ADX. Now we're not confirming, so we got to be careful. Now, if we make a strong move off of this 18 and this gets going again, then we got to be real careful about getting too bearish, right? Because we don't have confirmation on a price basis. Right now, I'm looking at this cautiously because we haven't broken the 18 and there's actually a lot of underlying weakness when you go through the individual stocks, but the index itself hasn't confirmed the signal yet because it hasn't broken the 18. But something we need to really be on the lookout for here over the next, few weeks, I would say. If you're enjoying the content, hit that like button and also subscribe. So my services can be found at rabilstockresearch.com. I'm on this page right now. You can see at the top, I've got my advanced trend and momentum courses. There's 3 different courses now. I've individually priced them, or you can buy them as a bundle, and they are lifetime access now. So I changed that. It's not year to year. Okay. And then we have the individual package. I have about 2 to 3 reports each week, plus a special video, weekly video for that package that covers a lot of details into what I'm seeing for the week. So if you have an interest, go ahead and take a look. Also, the book is on the book tab. You can go if this is a good place to start if you're new to my methodology. As always, my comments are for educational purposes only. Please do your own due diligence before making any investments. All right, now I've got an updated S&P this morning, starting to, trying to rally off of the 18 week, which is what we were just looking at. So you can see where we came back down to this 18. Now, this has been a really important level. Even here where we broke it, you notice how we gapped down and by the end of the week, we came back up. And then look at how we found support. This has been going on for over a year now. So I think we have to watch this very closely. And like I say, I'm looking for a violent break of this line, even though we're showing signs where MACD has turned down, and obviously we have some issues. Green DI still has not confirmed. There are all of these things taking place. We don't do anything until price really kind of confirms the situation. But let's just say we do break that 18. Let's just look at where the potential risk is. So the bigger risk would be coming down. Let me just do this. Would be coming down to this area, probably around 52, 5,300, undercutting, coming back down to this big green bar down here, which is also the breakout from early 2024, right? Now, that's sort of the low end of the range. I think the upper end of the range would probably more like 5,600, maybe 55. I think that's 55 to 5,600 would be kind of what I'd be watching for to see what kind of reaction we get as we come down. All right. Now, a lot of times, if we're getting a correction, you'll see some violence. And what I do and what I show on my Friday video and what I update is the sentiment, because what we want to watch is we want to see as the market's dropping, is the sentiment, are the bears increasing, are the bulls dropping, and that'll give us a lot more insight into where we should expect some kind of a bottom to take place. We're going to watch the smaller time frames. We don't need to be a hero and dive in as this is dropping. We can go down to an hourly chart and wait for signs of a reversal on the hourly. We don't have to look at the weekly chart or the daily or anything like that. We can go down to our hourly chart and look for clear signs that something is taking place. All right, so that's kind of my approach to handling this. Now, one thing I do want to point out when we look at the monthly chart, you see how far away we are from the 18-month line? I mean, this is due for a pullback, all right? Now, I don't know if it's going to come crashing down to it. I don't even know if it's going to come all the way down to this line. It might just, work its way back as this is climbing up and meet up, come a little bit closer without even touching it. So don't assume anything at this point. Just stay on your toes. Watch for signs of real weakness. All right, I do want to look at some cryptos here, because I looked at them this morning and decided, I really want to talk about a few of these. These are some really nice looking patterns, and they fit right into my book pattern, the pattern out of my book. There's one key pattern on a pullback that I look for, right? And then I talk about breakouts. I look at ADX, MACD and everything, but this has a really nice, look at the volume pattern here. Look at what the ADX is doing. Look at the MACD pulling back. All right, so this is Cardano to the US dollar. Notice how we're pulling back towards the breakout zone from last year. And look at this pattern. Look at this beautiful ABC correction. Now, there is overrun here. So when I see that, I'm looking for a little bit more confirmation, a little higher low, maybe a test of the 18, and then turn up. But we don't have that much selling strength. We had a lot of power to the upside. I mean, this is one definitely to watch as we move forward. Now, I do want to talk about Bitcoin. Bitcoin had an incredibly great setup last year, right around October. I talked about it a number of times as we were going through this. Started to kick in the mid part of October, follow through in November. Look at the zero line reversal with low ADX. Look at the pinch play. Look at the strength here, right? So we want to keep an eye on these. Now look at this DOGE. This is a little bit different. Notice the violence of this pullback. Do you see that? Now look at the volume pattern. You see the move to the upside, and then when you look at this big red bar, there actually isn't that great of volume. So I'm always looking at the volume to see if is it everybody in and then everybody out. Meaning, is the volume really heavy on the way out? And that tells me even though they bought, they sold. In this case, I don't really see that. I just see maybe a lot of volatility in this price. Now, because there's overrun here and there's a little bit of spillover in the sellers, I do want to see a little bit more confirmation. That means I'm looking for a move up, and then I pull back in some kind of a cup around pattern, to kick things into gear here. So we want to be a little bit more careful about the entry because of the violent pullback. But I do think this is a really attractive pattern. Let me just look at a few others here. So EOS, so this is what I'm talking about. You see the move to the upside, and then it just eclipsed the high, and then look at the violence of the pullback. So I wanted to show one that I don't think looked quite as attractive. This, to me, looks like it has a lot of resistance up here above the one level, right? So I would be less interested in something like that. Now, I get a lot of questions about this ETH, so I'm going to talk about it. You see the failure to break out. You see how this hits this 4,000 mark, and it just reverses hard. So we need to get through this key level before having any interest in this. You can really see how important this is. We don't need to jump the gun. Now, look at something like Link. Link had ABC correction, but it looks to me like the volume pattern isn't quite as good. It was a big red bar off the high, so you got to be careful again with this. I do think this is a key level here. Let me just highlight this level, 20. That's around 23 and a half, something like that. I think we're going to need to get back above that before having much of an interest. Now, one of the ones that did catch my eye when I went through this is this Litecoin. So again, The pullback is a little harsher than I like to see, and I do think we need to get back above this. But look at this long sideways pattern and the way this is developed, and then look at what's new emerging here. So yeah, get this back above, you know, this resistance area. I think we could look for somewhere around 112, 113, something like that. Essentially getting back above the 40 on this smaller time frame, which is what you want to do anyway. And because there's overrun, we're going to want a little bit of extra sign. Look for a break of the downtrend line and then a higher low to develop, but certainly something to be on the lookout for. Okay, let's switch over to the QQQ. I do want to stay on top of both the QQQ and the IWM for now. We've got a, obviously a leading area, but we've got the same problem developed here. Look at the strength of the ADX, and now it's failing miserably. Now, when I see this, a lot of times I'm actually looking for this to come and kiss the 25 level. Maybe we get one more little push. Maybe this tries to get up a little bit higher or something like that. But we need to watch again for a break of the 18-week line in a violent way, I think, to kick this in. That would also re-enter this final breakout phase. You see how if we came down through the 18, we'd also be re-entering the breakout from this last move. So we want to be on the lookout for that, but don't pre-guess this. If we get another move to the upside, it's very possible we get some confirmation and this goes on for a while. So don't jump the gun, but I do think it's worth discussing. All right. Now let's look at the IWM, because I think this is really one of the keys to the market for 2025. We need to see real improvement, and real improvement to me is relative to the S&P. So this is the line. This black line is the relative strength line, meaning it's basically a ratio of the IWM to the SPX. And we're going to need this to break out, and we're going to need this moving average of the relative strength, which is a 30-period moving average, to turn upward. All right. And if we have that and we have a good looking pattern in place, then I think the underlying universe, the bigger universe, starts to look a lot more attractive. And I think we see a lot more patterns that kick into gear and could make some pretty good money. I don't like the way the year ended with the king queen bars. All right. You see how we have a king bar? I call this a king bar because it's such a strong green bar to the upside. Then we get a queen bar, which basically erases the green bar. So we get an up move and a down move. Some people call this a bear 180, right? Or just a bull bear reversal. So we want to be on the lookout for this. The midpoint of these two bars, you can calculate that yourself. I usually eyeball it, is pretty important. And in this case, it's really important because it does confirm the breakout area. If we come back up through that, I think that would be a really good sign. But right now, we've created some short-term resistance that I think is somewhat disturbing. All right, let's look at the SMH, because I think this is really interesting, the way this is played out. There's a lot of cross currents inside the SMH. We have some areas that are showing momentum divergence with the ADX, and others that are really attractive and have handled this pretty well. But when you look at the SMH, this is actually pretty impressive. Strong move to the upside. Look at this pause. I mean, this looks like a consolidation pattern, and look at what's going on the weekly chart. This is our reverse divergence pattern. Do you see how the MACD is making a lower low and price is actually making a higher low? Okay, so I'm on the lookout now for some sign of a turn to the upside. If we can get a green bar breakout above here with the zero line reversal near the well, it's actually a potential zero line reversal with a reverse divergence and low ADX, very, very low ADX. I think this would be actually a pretty attractive pattern, something to watch for. You can see on the daily chart, we essentially need to get through this 254.5, 255 area. I think if we do that, this could make a pretty nice little trading run to start things out. All right, let's look at Tesla, because it's starting off the year. I think they had some bad news, fundamental news based on their annual numbers this morning, and it's getting hit. But look at the way this played out. You see how we had this really big base. We emerged off here, showed emerging strength and then just got too far away. And we reached this big round number at 500, right? I mean, it was just such a big move in such a short period of time. I think this wants to fill in a little bit. It wants to come back a little bit closer to the 18, but we have very good momentum signs here. There's no momentum loss here. It's actually early strength. So we need this to spend some time consolidating. And I wouldn't be surprised if it spends the whole first quarter consolidating, working sideways, setting itself up. But I do think based on the strength of this move, there is more upside coming. All right, look at the Apple chart. Now, the way this is played out is actually, let's look at the weekly. We had a little breakout pattern develop late in the year. All right. Now, the momentum signs are pretty good. ADX has stayed above 25 throughout the consolidation pattern. And the MACD, even though it's not at a new high, it's showing decent confirmation to the upside because it did cross back above its signal line. Now, some people would call this divergence. I think it's too far away. If you look at this peak to this peak, I don't know. It's a little, I like to see them a little bit closer together. But in this case, you know, I think what we're watching for is to see how it handles this breakout zone. All right. Can we hold the breakout area? If we turn back down through that, I think I would be a lot more concerned. So we want to watch that. Right now, I don't have a huge problem. The volume's not that heavy. So we'll just have to wait and see. All right, now let's look at Costco here. Costco is another name that's showing massive, massive strength. Look at the strength of the ADX, strength of the ADX, strength of the ADX. Now, in the near term, we're actually showing some selling strength finally, some selling volume. I do think this could be topping out. Look at how it peaked out at the 1,000 mark. Big round number. Keep an eye on these things. Now, if we get a violent break of the 18, you should assume that we're going to probably try and correct and catch up to the 18-month for the first time in over a year. So something to be on the lookout for. All right, look at BK. BK has been a great stock, great momentum. It's starting to show early signs of momentum loss with the MACD turning down here, but no sign of divergence yet because we had a confirmation at the peak. So what do? We watch and see how it reacts at the 18. This could actually set up for another little buying chance on the daily chart with another move to the upside. And with the momentum as strong as it is, probably want to look for some kind of a move up and come back down, something like that. It should form a double bottom based on the way this has reversed here. And it is a little extended, so you'd have to treat it as a trading play, but I do think it's sort of interesting from that standpoint. Now, Twilio has definitely gotten itself in gear. Look at the way this 18-month is turning up for the first time. Look at the strength of this move as it emerged out of this base. Now, the problem we've got is we've got price support down here around 76, 77, and we've got an 18 that's really far away. Now, if this stays rising, then we don't have to come all the way down to the 18, but we need to pull back some. And I don't like the fact that it's so far away from support. I'd like to see this form a little bit more of a consolidation pattern, but I got to tell you, I mean, this is a stock you have to have on your watch list. You want to be on the lookout for a little bit deeper pullback. Watch for this to at least come down a little bit closer to 100, though, I would say, at a minimum, to get this a little bit closer to support and maybe make the risk reward a little bit more attractive. Thanks for joining me today. If you have any stock requests, send them to stocktalk@stockcharts.com, or you can just put it in the comment area below. Also, if you want to learn more about some of these techniques, ADX, MACD, and multiple timeframes, you can go to my YouTube channel called Invest Like a Pro. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.